You're in a meeting, you're making an important point and someone just cuts you off mid-sentence again. Maybe it's your manager who jumps in before you've finished explaining your idea. Maybe it's a colleague who talks over you like you weren't even speaking. Maybe it's that one person who seems to interrupt everyone, but somehow you're the one who never gets to finish. Now, if you're an early career woman in a male-dominated industry, I'm guessing this happens way more than you'd like to admit. And I get it. In that split second, you want to call it out, but you hesitate because you don't want to be that person who makes it awkward or crosses a line or risks looking like they're over-emotional. But here's the truth. Every time you handle an interruption, you're showing people how seriously they should take you. Calm and firm says, I'm here and my input matters. Letting it slide again and again inadvertently teaches them the opposite, and we're not here for that. I'm Tanya Andrews, and over the past decade, I've worked with hundreds of early career women from dozens of companies across industries like construction and mining, energy, tech, who find themselves over and over in this exact situation. Yes, being interrupted is really frustrating. And it's also hard to handle well because it's really our nervous system that's reacting. We either snap back, we go quiet, or we completely lose our train of thought. Then when seniority, power dynamics, or that group culture are at play, it's easy to feel like speaking up's going to backfire. And social conditioning can make women in particular hesitate to kind of push back because then you're worried about being labeled as difficult. But here's what I know. This isn't about winning the room or proving a point. This is about being smart and strategic and holding your ground in a way that makes it impossible to overlook you while keeping calm and professional. So in this video, let's look at some scripts for different scenarios for handling interruptions in the moment. Now, these aren't about scripting your life. They're here to lay the groundwork so you understand the principles and then you can read the room and attempt them in any situation. Now, before I get into those tactics, I just want to acknowledge a number of really important things about your situation when you're an early career woman in a male-dominated landscape. As it's more than likely, you're going to be one of the few women in the room, which then makes you feel more visible when you do speak up. You're also still building your reputation and credibility, so every interaction feels like it carries more weight. And then there's that incredibly unfair expectation that maybe you should be agreeable or easy to work with. But here's what I've learned from working with hundreds of women in your position. The cost of staying silent is almost always higher than the risk of speaking up when you can do it strategically. When you let interruptions slide repeatedly, people start to assume your contributions aren't that important. When you handle them calmly and professionally, you're building a reputation as someone who's confident and composed under pressure. Plus, let's be honest, being talked over feels yuck, and that's a feeling that's hard to shake. So the key is knowing exactly what to do and say so you can respond from a place of calm authority and not reactive emotional panic. So the ideal way to handle interruptions is actually to prevent them from happening in the first place. Here are two tactics you can try straight out the gate. First, frame your speaking slot before you start. Instead of just diving into your point, try saying something like, I want to share these 3 quick points and then I'd love your thoughts. Or, let me walk you through my thinking on this and then I'm keen to get your input. This works because it creates a social contract. People then know when you're done and any interruptions become really obvious kind of breaches of that agreement. Secondly, you can position yourself as a contributor early. So try speaking up within the first few minutes of a meeting so that you can establish your voice in the room. You want to avoid overly apologetic language. So like, I'm not sure if this is right, or this might be a stupid question, but you want to start with confidence. Here's what I'm seeing, or based on the data or the information I have, or my recommendation would be, come in strong. So if you've tried out both of these preventative tactics and someone interrupts you anyway, I've got 3 different strategies you can use depending on the situation. So strategy number 1, hold your ground through the interruption. And I quite like this one. So what you do is, as they're interrupting you, you keep speaking. Just for a few more words, try to finish your sentence. Often the interrupter will realize what they've done and then they stop. You don't speed up, you don't get louder, you just keep talking your normal pace and finish the sentence. This works because it signals, I'm not done yet, but without escalating that tension, and it shows that you're composed and you're not easily rattled. Now, strategy number 2, if you're feeling a little bit more bold, pause, make eye contact, and re-enter. So if they keep talking, you pause, look directly at them, and say something like, I'd like to finish my point. Or, just a sec, I want to complete this thought, and then I'm keen to hear yours. This works because respectful directness makes it hard for them to push back without them then looking rude. You're not being aggressive, you're being clear about what you need to communicate. And then the final strategy is if it happens again. And this is where I want you to name it. If the same person interrupts you a second time in the same conversation, you can address the pattern by saying something like, I understand you've got something to add, but I'm speaking right now. Please hold off until I'm done. Did you see what I did with my hand just there as well? It's a little subliminal message you can give there using your body language. Now this works because you're setting a clear boundary without escalating that tone. You're making it really clear that behavior is not acceptable while you're keeping the focus on finishing your point. Now, of course, different scenarios are going to shape out how you respond. So I'm going to give you some specific language for those situations. Let's look at if you've got a senior leader who's interrupting you. You can try something like, I'll finish this point and then come straight to you. This signals respect while you're still maintaining that boundary. If you have a peer who keeps cutting in with their ideas, you can say something along the lines of, let me wrap up this thought and then it'd be great to hear your take. This acknowledges their input while still kind of protecting your space while you've got the talking stick. If multiple people are talking over each other, you might want to step in to diffuse the chaos by saying, let's take this one at a time. I'll finish this and then we can hear from. And that kind of positions you as the person who's managing those group dynamics. So that covers what you should do. But I also just want to take a second to point out some of the things not to do. Don't match their volume because escalation just triggers more escalation. And then we end up in a really unproductive, combative situation. You also really want to avoid sarcasm and passive-aggressive comments because aside from eroding your professionalism, they're not going to get you anywhere. Everyone can feel that coming. And don't just drop your point. It signals that it wasn't that important to the first place and people will just keep talking over you. Beyond that, I want you to remember, interruptions are a natural part of the working world. People are busy and they're juggling a lot of competing priorities. But being able to read the room and hold your ground when it matters not only makes you a powerful communicator, but it also sets a clear boundary on how you'd like to be treated. So, to summarize, pre-frame when possible, respond firmly when it happens, and escalate politely if needed. The more you practice these responses, the more natural and effective they're going to become. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to be heard. You just need to be clear, calm, and confident about holding your space. Now, I'm not super enthusiastic about scripting every inch of our professional communication because the power really comes in having those skills honed so you can adapt to any situation. But I also know that these particular types of situations often result in our fear response kicking in to fight, flight, or freeze. And the best way to get your brain back online is to have a phrase or a saying handy so you can grab onto it and keep moving forward. So I've put a link down below to a set of scripts that I think are your best bet to learn and have at the ready. And then, as I always say, you'll find your voice as you go. I also want to mention that today we've walked through some basic scenarios, but I know that workplace dynamics are much more nuanced than this. Maybe you're dealing with a manager who interrupts you, especially in front of clients, or a colleague who only ever seems to talk over women in the room, or maybe you're in a team where interrupting is just part of the day. Inside the collective, we deep dive into these types of more complex situations. So we cover advanced communication strategies, looking at reading power dynamics in the room, handling interruptions when there's hierarchy at play, managing difficult conversations when emotions are running high, and presenting your ideas with impact even when you're in challenging environments. Plus, you get access to live hot seat coaching, which is where you bring those specific situations and you get personalized advice on exactly how to handle them. I've left a link in the description if you're interested in seeing what it's all about. And I want to finish on this point. Being interrupted, especially when you're in a workplace environment, is really unsettling because it works to reinforce so much of what you're likely to already be thinking. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be here. I don't know if I'm bringing any value. When am I allowed to even say anything? Who am I going to upset along the way? But being able to deal with interruptions strategically, the way we've worked through today and using some of these tools and strategies is going to start quieting those voices inside and really show you the place that you have in your team, your project, your workplace, and this industry as a whole. So get in there, hold your ground, you've got this.